Right now, the Giants don't have a AAA roster that feels that way. You know, you were hoping by this point that Marco Luciano and Tyler Fitzgerald, Luis Matos, and the fact that none of those guys has really taken that leap has left them thin at the top. All of that said, I just don't think that they're in the mindset to punt on this season in any way.
Dave warned us about it last week. He's mentioned the Giants the last decade plus. Their bugaboo, their Achilles heel has been coming out of the All-Star break. You warned us, and they came out and they got swept in Toronto, Dave.
Well, I did. I do have to admit, I went back and actually looked at because I was just winging it when I was talking to you guys, and their record after the All-Star break isn't as bad as I thought it was. I mean, I guess I just focus on the years that I remember where they have struggled. I still think it's been an issue for this team over the last few years, just this time of year in general. Second half in general in the last, 4 or 5 years has been an issue. So this is an important week for this team, and I don't want to just write it off and dismiss it because there were some disturbing things. But I also think the Blue Jays right now it's just one of those teams that, they are on fire, and everything they're doing is turning up aces, and almost every team in baseball would have gone in there and gotten their rear ends handed to them. Just the way the Blue Jays are going right now, it's just one of those things. So you got to kind of lick your wounds and hope to bounce back in what is not going to be an easy place to play here in Atlanta.
So the Verlander start happens, and it just feels like he's afraid to throw the fastball in the second inning, and everybody's just losing their minds. And I put out a tweet like, what do you do with Verlander? And I'll get to him in a second. But then, Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, these are two all-stars having great years, and they both got barreled up and struggled to get out of the fourth or fifth inning in those games the other day. So, where are you at now on Verlander? Having said what I said about what happened, because it does for me, I think I take a deep breath and I say, all right, well, maybe this is Toronto's just excellent. What do you do with Justin Verlander right now, Dave?
You give him the ball again this week and hope that it goes a little better. I talked to Justin yesterday, and his body is feeling good. He feels like he's strong enough physically to perform at a much higher level. I think if that weren't the case, I'd be even more worried about it. That's not to say that there isn't some reason for worry. The results just haven't been there, but he feels like, and you look at the velocity, you look at the way the ball comes out, it doesn't look like a guy who's just falling apart. I really do think he's doing some deep dive stuff into finding a way to be a little more deceptive, whether or not he's tipping. I don't want to say that, but I think, there are ways to hide the ball a little differently. And maybe when you're younger and you just have explosive stuff, that isn't quite as important. So I think, he's going through a process where he's trying to tweak a few things. That's not the easiest thing to do in the middle of a season. I guess the bottom line for me is, unless they're going to swing a trade, and I think they would like to try to do that, but I just don't see the other option right now for this team. I think they're backed into a corner a little bit with their pitching depth. If Carson Whisenhunt had just forced the issue and was ready to go and was performing at a high level, then I think we'd be having a different conversation. But you watch the way he's pitched the last month, and it doesn't look like a guy who's ready to win a bunch of big league games. And that's not a knock. He's a young guy. He's still working his way up the ladder. But there's nobody just blowing the door down saying, pick me, I'm ready to go. I think the discussion would be a little different if that were happening.
Dave Flemming joining us here on the River Islands guest line. Dave, fast forward to 4:15 from now, West Coast time. How massive is this start for one Hayden Birdsong to stop the bleeding? And, he's had how many weeks off is this guy? It felt like he's had a couple weeks off now at this point. But Hayden Birdsong, a lot of rest. How massive a start is this for him in starting this second half and just to stop the bleeding in general on a 5-game losing streak?
Yeah, it's big for him. It's big for the Giants. The same issue that we just talked about with Verlander. They don't have a lot of other places to go. just immediately. Now, I think long-term they feel like they're going to have other options, but right now they need both those guys to step it up. And Birdsong is totally capable of doing it. And, I'm not privy to what's going on behind the scenes of like how they're grinding it out to try to figure out this issue where he just loses his command and it doesn't come back. His last actual start was that 4th of July weekend in Sacramento. So yeah, you're right. You were talking about a good couple weeks plus now since he started a game, and that he managed to go 5. That was like the most harrowing 5 innings you could ever watch. He was in trouble the whole time, and you just can't survive that way. You cannot make it look much easier. So we know it's in there. We know it is. And maybe the time off will be good for him, but they really do need him. They do.
Dave, I think a lot of people are losing their minds over the skid that they're going through right now. And, I was trying to take a deep breath. I know I'm like a prisoner of the moment at all times, but I say to myself, like, look, I don't think they're as bad as this 5-game slide. I think Toronto's really good. I don't think the Giants are playing great ball right now. I do believe they've hit a wall, but I still think they can make noise. And I think overall we've underestimated how dry the cupboard was that Posey inherited in the situation. And I'm just looking at the draft history, looking at where their farm is, it's going to be really difficult to make moves for the now. And I think that they need to approach this deadline as, yeah, I'd like to help now, but I also need to acquire something for the future. Overall, as you guys enter this crucial week, how should they look at this deadline? Should it be all about the now, or do they have to also keep their eye on the future?
The only way I could see them being a sell team, like a team that sells a few pieces to maybe get a younger player. The only way that happens is if they lose every game from here until then. I mean, I just don't see Buster feeling like this is a team to give up pieces. They're not deep enough, and I think that is a major issue. What you led in with. It's not to say, like, look, for all the Giants player development people, the scouting director, Farhan, everybody who came before this year, this roster has Elliot Ramos and Patrick Bailey and Casey Schmidt and Landon Roop and Hayden Birdsong and Walker and all these guys. The Giants have developed good major league players. They have. But a really healthy organization and system has a constant supply of reserves near the top level, maybe not star level, maybe not, a guy who you think is going to be a superstar at some point, but somebody, the issue we were just talking about, somebody where, hey, you need a starter, you got a guy you can tap on the shoulder and say, come take a couple starts and keep us in a game and compete at this level. And right now the Giants don't have a AAA roster that feels that way. You were hoping by this point that Marco Luciano would be one of those guys, and Tyler Fitzgerald would be one of those guys, and to a degree, Luis Matos would be a guy who could be taken every day at bats. And the fact that none of those guys has really taken that leap has left them thin at the top. So all of that said, I just don't think that they're in the mindset to punt on this season in any way. And I think selling doesn't have to be punting on a season. Look at what the Tigers did last year. The Tigers were kind of middling, and they sold a couple pitchers, and they went on a run and made the playoffs, and it springboarded them into this year. So I don't want to frame it exactly like that. I guess I should just keep it positive and say the Giants believe in this team. They want to add to this team as opposed to, take away a veteran player or two, and they don't have enough options where I think it'd be very hard for Buster and Zach to say, sell off a reliever, sell off a player, and have somebody step into that void and maybe use a deal to springboard to another deal. I just don't think they have the maneuverability to do that right now.
No, I think that's a fair point. And I don't know. I always say you got to give to get, especially if you want something of significance under team control. And so you got to get creative here as we approach it. And I'm looking at three guys, right? It's Adames, it's Chapman, and it's Devers. And so to me, whatever you're looking at, short-term, long-term, whatever, has got to complement those three. And I'm looking at Devers right now, and clearly the lack of just having a leadoff guy is really hurt this team. I mean, just a table setter, that is what they need. That is like one of the most important things that they need right now. But Rafael Devers, what are you seeing from him right now? Because I could feel the frustration from Giants fans right now.
Much better. I mean, I thought this weekend was really encouraging for him. He hit the ball hard all weekend, took swings that looked like Rafael Devers. Now, there was a key at bat late in the game. He had a couple pitches to hit and did not hit them. And, you know, it happens. It happens to the very best hitters where you go through stretches where you don't take advantage of the pitches that you think you should crush. But I thought overall, he looked way more like the normal Devers this weekend than what we saw before. So I'm hoping that even just those few days off have helped him kind of get the back thing calmed down. Now, the problem is, you know, the season grinds on, and you don't get a lot of – from here till the end of the year, he's not going to get time off. I mean, that guy, whatever you think about Devers, like, he wants to be in there. That guy plays. I think we counted it up. Devers has missed 3 at-bats this year. 3. He got pinch hit for twice in blowout games with the Red Sox where they were down by like double digits, and so they took him out of the game late. And one time I think they pinch ran for him late in a game, and so he missed an at-bat. He's missed 3 at-bats this year. That guy, he wants to be in every day. It's part of the reason why the Giants traded for him, but it also makes it hard when you're beat up because you don't give your body a chance to recover. I thought it was encouraging. I think we're going to see Rafi Devers produce for this team. I know that we're going to see that long term. The big question is he healthy enough to do it in the short term? I hope so.